Alright guys, so this is actually my first live stream ever here on YouTube. So welcome to the group if you're new, which you'd be new because I have 0 subscribers. So I'm going to be live Bitcoin scalp trading. I'm going to try to do it pretty well every weekday. And yeah, we'll see how she goes. So let's do a little breakdown here of what I see going on. So right now we are at such a key area of resistance. We're at the golden pocket naked point of control. So in my opinion, if you break the naked daily point of control, I think you're going to head to the next daily naked point of control right up here. So that's what I'm watching. A rejection here, I would say at least you go back to 110.582 for potential swing failure. If you break that, I would say there's a good chance that we actually come fill the whole fair value gap. So we'll pay attention to it here locally. And this reject here or flip into support is what's called a supply imbalance. Now supply imbalances, when they're not in ranges, don't happen to work all the time and they don't work too well. But this is the only supply imbalance we have before taking the liquidity up at 111,661. So we already have the target to the upside. If we start to break these levels above, we already have the targets to the upside. Now we're gonna wanna, here, one sec. Okay, so I'm gonna put this, let's watch locally here. We're gonna put it on these charts. This is a very low time frame, so let's see, the 5-minute RSI is flipped. All of these RSIs are red except for the 30-second. The 30-second is saying there's still more upside. The 1-minute, 2-minute, and 3-minute we got to be a little cautious on. So the 30 seconds, the only thing keeping me out of potentially wanting to enter a short here at the lower high golden pocket. If we were to enter a short here, which I'm not going to, the order would look something like this. Probably TP1 somewhere there if we were to take, if the 30-second was also agreeing. The 30 seconds not agreeing, so I can't take it. It would be just too high of a risk, not worth it for me. So we're going to put the order here just so you guys can see, but this is not one that I would take. We're just going to try to take as many trades and really show that there's always trades to be found here. So again, this isn't one we would take because the 30 seconds says there's more upside. Just like to share the scenarios. So it's this 30-second, remember. Until the 30-second RSI flips into the red, I don't really see this scenario of this playing out. I would rather let this RSI flip. You have money flow looking not too bad. So let's just hide this for the second. I've had my mic muted this whole time. My apologies. So what I was saying there, I took this trade prior to starting the live stream. I tried to get the live stream going before, I just couldn't do it fast enough. So I pulled 75% of the trade at 75% of the trade, which netted a 2.5 ratio. Up here is a 4 ratio, pulling the rest of the trade out. Okay, so let's watch quickly for the swing failure. Okay, the 30-second did flip, meaning I'm probably interested in entering the short here. So we're gonna wait, like we're gonna give it some time here to see if it actually happens. We're gonna go very low time frame, so the 30-second, everything is flipping. Money flow still looks good though. Money flow is still increasing. So yes, we definitely don't want to rush this here. And you could probably trade this one back down to this swing failure here. Okay. One second here. Okay, sorry, the girlfriend just woke up. Okay, these are opening up, so I would take this lower high here. So I'm entering stop loss to the high. And we're going to target TP1 as a 3-to-1, and then we'll go from there. And we're going to pull 75% here. And this, we're going to play this super cautious. We're actually putting stop loss to entry. So we might get stomped out here at entry, but there's lots of exchanges that have zero rewards, or sorry, zero fees going on right now. So if it moves up a couple bucks there, we'll get stomped out at entry again. But we're counter trend trading right now. So in counter trend tradings, we do want to be play it more cautious. So again, TP1 is 75%. And TP2, we're going to pull all the way down right before this swing failure, and we'll pull the remaining 25%. So we'll do the math on the trade after. And this trade wasn't taken live this long, but it would be stop loss to entry now. TP1 was already hit there, so. You could put trailing, like a trailing stop loss, since we're high intense scalp trading. In a scenario like this, if I had another long open like I do here, I wouldn't be putting the trailing, just because even if this short gets taken out at entry, I'll still have a really good long trade, because if this gets taken out at entry, there's probably a good chance that we're breaking above this. So something to watch. So this one I'm going to rename long trade. These ones here are short trade. Okay, there is high volume nodes here, right? So this batch right here on the volume profile is a high volume node. So if you're going to come down and flip into support, it would usually be at the high volume node. So I would say you're either going to flip into support here, you'd flip into support here, and then this is liquidity. So as far as flipping into support, these are kind of the two zones that I see potentially flipping into that support. Okay, so TP1 was hit. So we'll break the math down. We pulled 75% at a 3 ratio. So let's take that. A 3.09 times 75% equals 2.3. So we secured a 2.3 ratio, meaning if you risked $100, you would have $230. Now we can't lose this trade anymore. Stop loss to entry, we've secured a profit, a 2.3 ratio for the day. And this is where you could even just wrap the day up. You could be done with your day before, I'm here in Canada, so before 10 o'clock. That'd be nice. Okay, so we're holding this high volume node. Let's hide this. So we're going to hide this and actually break down TA here again. Let's go to the 30 minute. Just give me a second here. I'm just looking a few things over. Okay, I would also watch this, and all these are imbalances. So this is what's called a demand imbalance. We showed supply imbalance before, and the only reason again why I have bounce here flip into resistance, because that's what happens when demand is taken. When we lose demand, we flip into supply. So this could all become range supply. If you ever broke down here, right, that would all be range supply in this zone. And then the other bounce zone is where we are, the high volume nodes here. Okay, so we're approaching this trend line here. I'm not too much of a pattern trader, but I'll still be aware of them. And I'm not interested in pulling anything here too. Even if we reverse and come back to my position, I'm not interested in pulling here. I've already taken 75% of the trade out. And really, a lot of the times I'll leave a remaining amount. So sometimes I'll pull like 15% here to leave 10% remaining in the trade. Right now I'm not. This is the first trade taken live with you guys. So we're going to get the ratio going and get in a position that even if we lose a couple, we'll still be very profitable for the day. So come on, you can do it. So even if we crash through here quick, I'm going to update this position and we can even get ready. So what's this TP at? The TP is at an 8.4. So if we do 8.47 times 25%, we'd be realizing a 2.11 ratio. So I'll just mark that in and then we can delete it if it doesn't hit. A 2.11 ratio, holding 25% out of the trade. Okay. So we just made a 4.41 ratio. So let's update the stats for the day. Okay, we'll just do the one that I took with you guys Trade's taken 1, 1, 0, 0, and then we have a 2.1. So we'll break the calculator out again. We have a 2.3 ratio plus a 2.11 equals a 4.41. So 4.41, meaning if you risk 1% of your account per trade, you would be up 4.41%. So if you risked $100, you'd be up $441. Okay, so we'll hide these stats. Hide the short trade, that went through. Let's see if this liquidity grab is legit. So I have Exo pulled up beside me, which is a software where you can look into each candlestick. Okay, so what's happening here at the low? Personally, I don't like anything here, so we're just going to leave this alone on my end. Now this is, right here you'll see this whole area says bounce here or flip into resistance. That means because this whole zone here is what's called range demand. So right now we're going to get rid of the range demand. We're not going to get rid, we're just going to hide it, and then we'll do the imbalances within that. So let's see if there's any more imbalances that I missed. Oh, right here. Now this bottom imbalance is not in a local range itself. These imbalances, see how up you have like market structure, and this is actually a little tiny range. Inside those ranges, that's where we look for imbalances. When you're not inside the range, the imbalances don't usually work all the time, right? So this one I would be the least confident in, and then these two are both equal to me. This one I would like a touch better because you fill all the fair value gaps. So coming down to this one, you would actually fill all those fair value. Let's grab, let's see where volume is. We'll take this whole sideways range. Let's see where the golden pocket is of just this local. Okay, this one doesn't look too bad either, but we would be losing the golden pocket just to wick it. Let's just take a peek here. Maybe I missed something. I just want to see if there's another imbalance down there. Okay, there's this right here. This is this one here, sorry, is a demand imbalance. And these aren't necessarily my long zones, guys. These are demand imbalances where if you don't bounce there, you flip into supply, right? Demand flips into supply. So either we hold the demand and keep taking the supply boxes out like we've been doing here. This all right here is called range supply. And what happened when we took it, right? We started to flip the zone of the whole supply. See how we held the zone of supply? This is the zone we struggled in a little bit and then we carried on. Same with here, you see how this is supply? We're now in the supply zone. So we're even allowed to pretty well drop to the 382, and we would still be in this where supply could be flipped into demand. So we'll pay attention to these. That's this that I just added. We'll go more local here. Let's go to like the 2 minutes. Okay, so you do got a market Cipher B 2 minute dot coming in. Let's see how high of a time frame these can bring it to. So the long got taken out at entry anyways. And yeah, so I didn't take this one with you guys, so we're actually just going to delete that. I'm going to keep the ones that I've taken with you guys. Okay, it's actually this whole zone here, so and it's the same thing. We can rip all the way through the zone, but we really want to pay attention if we come back into the zone. And if we don't, this is where you would probably get rejected in supply. So let's see if you get the 3 minute dot. The higher the dots that start to confirm, the higher the chance that we pump. The more dots that get invalidated, the higher the chance that we dump. So let's take the first dot for example. The 1 minute is still doing its job because after the dot came in, we haven't taken the low. Same with the 2 minute. Same with the 3 minute. So for these dots to actually do their job, every dot's job is to take out the higher low that created it. This dot, the high that created this low going into this dot, is this high. So in order for these to actually work, we need to take the high. If you start to take this low, that means that these very local time frames are becoming invalidated. Money flow is starting to flip into the red, right? And they don't save us anymore. So this is very key. We want to see if this 3 minute, see what this 3 minute dot gives us. Okay, so we're now in this zone, so let's see what are the chances that we want to take. Okay, so we're at the high volume no golden pocket. If we were to see a lower high, I would say it's probably going to come here. You could come up here, there is that little imbalance. I would say if you actually break this, you're going to go take this local high out again. So let's see if we can actually see a rejection. 5 minute red, 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 red RSIs. These are green RSIs. These are starting to flip. Check the 5 second. 5 second has already flipped. 15 seconds says there's more upside. and the 30-second flipped in the RSI into the green there. So no, I'm gonna leave this one alone. And here I'll give the trade scenario if it were to. So this is not what I'm entering. So I'm putting the order beside it here just to show if we dump through, this is what we would have been watching for if this does happen. So we're not, it wouldn't be entered, right? You would probably have a trigger order here that if we dumped in and hit it, it would probably just market you into the trade. And there is lots of fees, or lots of exchanges right now with zero fees. MEXC, zero maker fees, zero taker fees. So I'll just show you guys why I'm not interested, right? This one is looking good for your rejection because your RSI is, your purple part of the RSI is really starting to open up. It's just the 15-second and the 30-second that I don't like. They're just not worth it for me. They can play out a lot and it's just not worth it for me. There's tons of scalps to always be caught. If you were to actually sit down here all day and try to scalp trade, you could find minimum 3+ trades a day, minimum, even in sideways consolidation, barely any volume. And that's kind of why I wanted to start making these live streams, just to show like you can always find a trade as long as you have a proper strategy, proper risk management. Sorry for all the background noise too. Once we get these streams going, I'll get a better mic for y'all. Okay, so the 15-second ended up flipping the RSI into the red. So I definitely don't chase these. I'm a scalp trader, so there's no reason to chase this and have a looser stop loss when I can wait for a lower high down the line. So if the 15-second and 30-second would have been flipped or flipping into the red, we definitely would have taken the lower high and the trade setup would have looked like this. But it just didn't set up for that. So if I did take this trade, I would probably put stop loss to entry now if I took that trade. Now, I'm not really interested in any longs today, or at least right now. I understand that the trend is up, but I like to counter trend trade a lot because I like to try to catch the knives. Even though I might lose one attempt or two attempts going into that high, when I hit it, my ratio is usually so high that it's at like a 6 ratio. So even if I lost 2 trades in a row at 1% risk each, I would lose 2% plus fees. There's no fees right now, so I would only lose 2%, and then my 6 ratio would make me 6%, so I could still net 4% even with 2 losses and 1 winner. And that's why risk management is everything, and having a proper strategy to know when to click the button and enter the trade, right? So we're actually going to watch for a lower high now, because our 15-second flipped, right? 15-second flip. So I want to see the 30-second start to get to that zero line. Yeah, It might not give. I want to see the 30-second come up, so it might not happen. And again, if you took this, or if I took that, I would have stop loss entry on it. And remember, every dot has its job to take out the high or low that created it. If it can't take this high out, then this is the first sign of invalidation for the longs, that you'll probably come back down to the low. Okay, so we're golden pocket. This would make sense if a lower high came in right around here. I still just don't like the 30-second. 5-second I don't like either. 10-second I don't mind. 15-second I really like for short wise. And 30-second is still open. So I'll put the other short scenario again to the side just so you can see this is not one I would enter. I'm going to wait for a better chance. So it would just be a trigger order, right? You haven't entered. It would be here that if you crash through this level, market enters you at the level, stop loss to the high. So it's actually, I can get rid of that. We don't need it. Yeah, I just don't like the 30-second. Okay, and if this gets invalidated, so I don't like the 30-second, so I'm not going to take the short. This is where you would spring right here if this is going to keep going. This is a little imbalance here. .30-second is still wide open, like the RSI is nowhere near flipping back into the red, so I just can't take it. It just doesn't make sense for me. So in this scenario, you would have been taken out entry, so you wouldn't have lost anything, you wouldn't have made anything. You see how we bounced there, guys? It's exactly what we were just talking about. Bounce here, flip into resistance. Okay, it hit that 786. Do we like the 30-second yet? No. 15-second I really like. No, it's not worth taking it, guys, for me. Yeah, just not. I can't do her. The scenario, though, would be this is the lower high, right? And we come take this low out again down here. Just wasn't a clean setup for me. So you see how this demand, right? Demand flips into supply, and that's actually exactly what it did here. This is now all supply. Now, if it invalidated the demand, and let's say it comes up to invalidate the supply, then we just need to be aware that potentially, right? Potentially you could just get a very local sideways range being formed. If this starts to be respected, we still think that we're going to come down here, right? Because we've put a potential lower highs in to come take this low. Stuff like this is also where traders get trapped shorting the market as well, but that's why we have a strategy to follow. So that's what happened. We came up here and re-rejected. See how just the little, so let's put this here. Coming back into the supply. Remember what happens if supply gets taken, it's most likely that it flips into demand. If supply does its job, it keeps taking out all of the lows, right? Keeps grabbing all the liquidity. And here I'm going to put smaller imbalances on just so we can see them. These are really small imbalances, because we're on the 30-second chart right now, right? We can actually pull this one higher. So I want to see this 30-second get closer, right? It has slowly been getting closer. It's still just not worth it for me. Okay, you see how the 30-second can flip whenever? It's just my problem here is I like to have a really tight stop loss. So if we were to take this, it would probably look like this. Target it to and again, you would have it as some sort of trigger order. So when it hit this, it marketed you in. If it doesn't hit it, you don't get marketed in. Okay, I still don't look at the 15-second. See how the RSI is opening wide again? The 15-second can immediately flip to. It's not like this is the 15-minute or the 15-hour or anything. It just, I want to see these being able to flip. So we get rid of this, of course. Get rid of this, get rid of this. And again, I'm not interested in longing the market right now, guys. And the reason is because we're at a macro, what could be the lower high zone. So I'm not trying to long into potentially the lower high zone. Even if we break to all-time highs, I got positions from down here, right, that we've been watching. So there's no reason why I would need to take longs or even scalp longs in a short area, right? Even if we pump to all-time highs, it doesn't matter. It's RTA. So this is where we would reject. Okay, what's this? So the 30-second, you see how it's still wide? I just can't take it. Doesn't make sense, guys. Doesn't make sense. No, we just gotta leave this. Okay, let me zoom out here. Okay, I'll be right back here, guys. Just give me a couple minutes here. Alright, of course the first live stream I ever do, there's saw cutters in the parking lot behind us. Alright guys, we knew that it wasn't worth us taking it, right? These are things that I could care less about. I'm aware that, we're dropping down from a rejection zone, but we take smart trades here. So once we reject, let's just put these in red, how about? Let's get rid of this big box. Another zone up there. And now we are creating more supply. Remember, when demand starts to get taken, you start to flip it into supply. Okay, so these are very, very local ones, and I wouldn't hold much weight to these bounce zones, but we're just going to put them on the chart. It's just because they're demand imbalances. Okay, this one actually makes sense, kind of these lower ones, because if you don't fill a fair value gap, so there's kind of only two choices for fair value gaps. You use them as support and don't start to fill them, right? Or you actually come through and fill this zone. You pump up, you dump fast through the zone. So a lot of the times, you actually stop at the fair value gap as support for the first time. So we'll see what happens there. Let's go lower time frames again. Okay, so you're at where potentially like a higher low would come, so we just take a peek. Does a higher low make sense? You got green coming in on the 1 minute, 30-second bearish. I would say right here, it honestly is your 30-second. If your 30-second RSI can flip back into the green, then I would say you're good. If you can't, I would say you're going to come down to these next zones. Let's put another liquidity grab. If you do spring here, you would have 5-second bull divs, 10-second bull divs, going into a 30-second cross. So this is kind of make or break here. Either we pump right through, or I would say that we're going to dump right through. I would say this is make or break. Is it worth me taking a trade? No, I'm not interested in longs, and unfortunately this was the short scenario up here. I just didn't feel comfortable taking it because of the 30-second RSI. So we were aware of the short zone. It's just I didn't like any setup there for us. Okay, some people put the 886 on. I don't usually unless the volatility is crazy. We'll take a peek at it though. Might as well put it on. So you're between the 786 and the 886. You got slight bull divs on like the 10-second. If the 30-second flips, I would say you're minimum gonna go put in a lower high, like a decent lower high. If the 30-second can't flip, I do think you still go lower. So right here, if the 30-second RSI can flip into the green, so this would flip into the green. If this does happen, I would say this will be the cause of your spring taking you to a lower high, or actually taking the high out or whatever. So if this doesn't happen, I think that we just continue down. Might not want to. And saying, nope, not for me here. I'll zoom back in here in a sec. So just remember the 30-second is what we're watching. I'm assuming a lot of you guys don't have, well, I have 0 viewers right now, but if anyone watches this back, I would assume you probably don't have Market Cipher. But there's nothing I would recommend more than Market Cipher. It's pretty well my whole strategy. I've built the strategy around Market Cipher. I have a couple others like continuation strategies and stuff like that, but the majority is knife catching through Market Cipher. And again, I knife catch because even if I lose 1 or 2, my ratio is usually really solid on trying to catch the knife, where it'd be like a 4+ ratio. So even if I lose 2 going into the level, and say I just hit my minimum of a 4, I'll make 2% or a 2 ratio minus fees, of course. So maybe like a 1.8 ratio or something. See how the 30-second hasn't wanted to flip yet? It's kept our timing very, like, it's made the timing very simple for us, right? If this doesn't happen, we think that we go lower, so. Oh, and look at that. Okay, so we've taken the low again. And we're aware that the 15-second, 10-second, they're all right on the 0 line. So they can flip instantly regardless, so. We more so want to pay attention if this bull div is actually a bull div, and then if you get a 30-second cross. So I'm going to get rid of the fib. And here is a very, very, very internal supply imbalance. So if you break supply, you most likely flip the supply into demand. And it's the 30-second flip. Would it be an entry? For me, no, because I'm not looking to take long trades until we get a more aggressive pullback. And here's a really, really tiny imbalance being created right here. Okay, now we pay attention to the 30-second. You see how close it is to the 0 line? Now it has the potential to flip bullish kind of whenever. So we're watching to see if this 15-second bull div happens going into the 30-second flip. So if you're looking to take longs in an environment like this, this is the zone that you would look to take it. So if your 30-second flips, so we're not entering, this would be similar to like a trigger. If your 30-second does flip, so the 30-second just flips, so that's where the order would have been. Say you target a 3 ratio. And here, stop loss to entry. And the reason why stop loss to entry is because I would rather try again on potentially a higher low instead of trying to long in this downtrend and then get stomped out after I was already in a profitable trade. Most of the times I would rather re-enter as long as I can manage the fees properly. So we're going to keep this here, and we'll actually put this, I made a little yellow box, so flip, we'll put, does that flip? Change this to 50%. I'll save the new version. Okay, starting to take this. So this is liquidity, a very internal protected high. So we're in a downtrend. If you take this level out with full body candle closes, you flip market structure bullish on very, very low time frames. So that's how I do the timing. You see how we did our timing? We pretty well timed it perfectly based off just the our strategy here. So you see how the 30-second cross on the exact low, right? And then we had the order before that we said would be a trigger. I never entered it. I wouldn't have entered it because I'm not looking for longs in this environment. We got longs from lower zones. Now we can put this and this on. And actually, instead of putting the flip like this, we're gonna put, because this is all now range demand, so we're gonna put this one so stop loss to entry. If we took that, I'm just gonna hide it right now. We can go back to see if it would have worked out or whatever. So now I'm really interested if a higher low is gonna happen. And really aggressive trends usually bounce off the 382. So we'll see. Oh, look at that. Well, there you go. That's exactly why I freaking didn't want a long. Exactly why. Boom. Stick with our trading plans. Okay, this is a 2-minute imbalance. So this is the first demand imbalance. So you could see a spring here, whatever. We're not gonna look for long. We're just gonna let this play out here. Let this play out and breathe for a bit, and then we'll come back and check it out so we can get rid of this. This was already, this naked point of control has obviously already been hit, but I just want to leave it on the chart. So here's the bounce zones before. Let me zoom this up. And remember, if you start to lose this box with full body candle close, it's a pretty big fair value gap. So we gotta be aware that we could dump right through this if we start to take out this zone. Now you can fully mitigate this zone coming down and taking the whole zone and still bounce as it for the support of it. It's not like it needs to bounce right at the zone. And I'm just going to keep adding all these little tiny ones. Okay, we're right at the VWAP. So let's add the VWAP. Right at the VWAP and demand imbalance. So could we see a potential spring here? This is where we can just drop to lower time frames. So money flow is starting to roll over and look like crap. RSI is on the 30-second and below 15-second. Let's see. Nothing here for me. Nothing here. Now the thing here, guys, is this is all called range supply, this whole zone. So we just need to be aware of that if you come up and take the liquidity there. This is all supply. sec. Something's not adding up here correctly. Just give me a second. Pull the local one, which we pulled. Okay, no, I think. Okay, I'll be right back, guys. All right. Okay. Okay, get rid of this one. Bounce there, starting to reclaim the VWAP. Let's see. 1 minute RSI is good to go. 30-second RSI is good to go. 15 seconds not. 10-second is. This could be a VWAP bounce. I'm not interested in longs. If I was, I'll just show you it. So it'd be a trigger order above that, stop loss to the low, and you would have no choice but to target up to this one. Just because I don't take trades unless it's a 3-to-1. So if it was a VWAP trade, you'd kind of be entering somewhere around here. And honestly, in these scenarios, when you're kind of counter trend trading, you just got to be really quick with your stop loss too. Oh, sorry guys, I'll be right back again. Right. So that long would still be open if you took like the VWAP long there. Stop loss to entry for me. We're now in this very, very local imbalance. So just remember, all these red boxes, a lot of them are very, very local because we're looking at like more of scalp trading. Because these zones work really good, guys. You got to remember that we were looking at the original short up here, right? Even this one, it was supply rejection. Okay, I gotta crack the window in here, and it might get some of the background noise, but I got a cracker here, boys. A little too warm in here. Okay, and now supply flips into demand. This is now into demand imbalance. Let's put the Fibonacci here. Okay, I would really watch here. You got the golden pocket high volume node here. And back to the naked point of control. I would say if we start pumping, these are my two. These are the two that I like if it's going to be a lower high, and of course if we take the high then. But if this downtrend's going to continue, I would actually prefer to come up here, but it's still totally acceptable if we just dump from here. So let's see, we don't really have to guess if we're going to dump from here. We can see if there's any sort of bearish signs. I would say we're still going higher. Yeah, I would say we're still going higher. Okay, so we're still pumping higher. Now we're at the value area low of the previous range here, so I would just watch if there's bearish signs here. Which we potentially could have a 10-second bear div, but it's only a 10-second, so take that with a grain of salt. Just gonna mute myself for a sec here. Alright. So let's see, is there still any signs of rejection? Actually, let's go here. 5 minute is continuation signals, but the money flow is so back and forth right now. What I will show you guys is we will have potentially like a larger trigger come in on the 15 minute eventually. See how a 15 minute market cipher can print a green dot whenever? And remember, each dot like this has its job. The job is to take out the high that created it. If it fails to take out the high that created it, that's invalidation for more downside, right? So if this 15 minute crosses, we need to go to all-time highs, or else you're starting to invalidate and flip bearish and all that. So it looks like the long might hit the TP. We'll keep this on the side so you guys can see that we were working the scenario, but we never took it. Okay, I will be back in about 5 minutes. Give me 5 minutes, guys. Alright, just getting back to the charts. So it looks like that long would have worked out. I'll move it like this so we can see. So the long would have worked out, the short worked out. Let's see, we came up, we don't need this, don't need this. Just barely tapped into supply, now we're tapping into demand. So let's see, what are the chances that we're gonna pump from demand? Let's see. It's very back and forth here. Your 10-second is saying good to go, and your 1 minute is saying good to go, but your 30-second and 15-second are saying not yet. So this isn't something for me either. It's not a zone. Well, it's a zone, sorry, it's just not something I would watch. But I'm aware that if we're putting a higher low in, a higher low is going to come from one of these two zones. I just don't know if I actually believe in a higher low or if this is a lower high continuation to the downside. We had a lot of shorts open up, and there's still quite a bit of shorts open. So there's definitely more shorts to liquidate locally here than there is longs. So you could see like a liquidation where we go back up and take these highs out again. But we don't need to know that. We'll just play the strategy into the next play again. Just nothing here yet. 30-second, not yet. Yeah, see, when it works like this, I don't really like to add it as supply just because it actually goes all the way up here, so I don't want to, not really trying to do that. All right. Put this in green, we don't need to see that anymore. So we've now mitigated all that demand, which you're still allowed to mitigate demand and then go. Not saying we're doing that, it's just we're allowed to still mitigate the demand. Okay, I think I'm gonna wrap her up here and then potentially start another stream later today. So welcome to the Silent Trader first live stream. Peace.